biggest threat to the Lakers? I assume we're going to focus on the Western Conference, but which team do you think is the biggest threat to the Lakers?
It's the Clippers. Yeah, let's do it again. Same as last season. The years are exactly the same, right? Everything exactly the same. But I do think it's the Clippers, and I think it's easy to forget after the way they went out of the playoffs and everybody making fun of them because of them dropping 3 straight games against the Denver Nuggets after going up 3-1 in the second round. It's easy to forget they were the 2nd seed during the regular season, and I think they're going to rectify some things that were awry, that really set them off the wrong direction during the regular season. First, they're healthier. Paul George is not coming off shoulder surgery, so right. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are going to play a bunch more games together this year, and I think they'll probably play more games than LeBron James and Anthony Davis together. I know that's kind of dumb thing to say right now because Kawhi Leonard always takes games off, but yeah. LeBron is going to be chilling because he played so late into the season. So I think that chemistry is going to be a focus for them. Let's play and let's get on the same page because that obviously fell apart during the regular season. And that's the reason why they went and got Serge Ibaka. He is a great glue guy. I'm not saying Montrezl Harrell, the guy he's replacing, was the problem, but Montrezl Harrell did take it to the streets. He put the business out on the streets. I don't think Serge Ibaka is going to do that. He's a friend of Kawhi Leonard. They won a championship together, and he's a guy who can play down the stretch, unlike Montrezl Harrell. So I think there's improvement in the locker room, on the floor, and again, that focus is going to be on chemistry. And then the Luke Kennard trade that they made is an unheralded one. Luke Kennard coming from the Pistons, where listen, a lot of casual fans don't know who Luke Kennard is because nobody's watching Pistons basketball, but he's a playmaker off the bench. I think he could be the de facto point guard at the end of games. He's just a really solid guy because sometimes things got stagnant with the Clippers. Luke Kennard can be that player. And listen, I think people will say, what about the Denver Nuggets? They went to the conference finals and they beat the Clippers. That's true. I think they've got some their own problems themselves. Michael Porter Jr. is going to be relied on a lot this season because they let Jeremy Grant go. But I think they're number 3 with a bullet right there. People putting the Blazers above them. I think that's a little nuts. I think they're right behind the Clippers. And again, Clippers, despite those problems and the locker room problems, which will be a focus this season to get things together and to keep shit in-house, no talking to the media, they were still number 2, and I think they will be again number 2 over the Denver Nuggets, who I'm looking forward to. But you said, the Eastern Conference will avoid for this question, but I don't know. I think the East is a little more interesting, even though they don't have 1 through 10 as good at teams as the West. 10, 11 teams can make it in the West. There's more teams that can make it out of the East with the Heat, Celtics, obviously the Bucks, the Nets, the Sixers and Raptors if you're reaching, but I don't know. The Clippers have a legitimate shot to get the number 1 seed because I think LeBron and AD are going to rest a bit.
I saw The Ringer. They did their 2021 NBA tiers, right? And if you just focus on the Western Conference, they had the favorites as the Lakers, and you can agree or disagree on that. The contenders as the Clippers, Tass's pick there. The Mavericks and the Nuggets. And then playoff locks, Jazz, Blazers, Suns, Warriors, and Rockets. Now, I'm not great at the maths, but that's 9 teams there. So somebody...
10 make it, don't they?
Well, yeah, that's true. Now, that's a whole other question that we'll get to eventually later on. Is the play-in tournament actually making the playoffs? Anyway, do you agree with those tiers? And of those teams that I just listed, is there someone else besides the Clippers, Trey, that you think is the biggest threat in the West to take down LeBron and AD?
Well, I didn't read the piece, but I would say I agree with the tier that the Lakers are far and away the best team. They were the best team last year. They got better this year. You tend to get better playing your second time around. We remember the Heat after they won their first championship. They were even better the second go around. So I'm with Tass there. I think the Lakers are going to still be the team to beat. And I would imagine the Clippers are the team that's right there challenging them. I think even if Serge Ibaka coming in, even if the biggest thing he brings is chemistry, that's a huge win as well. And not to mention, it just simplifies things for Ty Lue. During the stretch, down the stretch last year, it would be, are we going with our offensive big guy in Montrezl Harrell or our defensive big guy in Zubats? Now you've got Serge Ibaka, who's kind of going to be able to fill both of those roles. It's a little bit easier choice, a little bit easier fit. And then I do think I have the Nuggets there, despite the fact that they're asking a lot from Michael Porter Jr. this year. With Jeremy Grant going to the Pistons to apparently handle the ball, they're all in on Michael Porter Jr. being able to figure out defense enough that he can stay on the court playing against some of these wings in the Western Conference, and they're asking him to take another step forward as a playmaker, as a scorer, as somebody who's going to be able to contribute 18 to 20 points a night. I think they can do it. I like the size that Porter gives them alongside Jokic to be able to at least combat the height of the Lakers. They're still going to be a big team out there, no doubt, when they're going with LeBron and AD. AD is just such a matchup problem that I don't know if anybody's able to handle him in the league. If he's your second best player, you're in a good spot. But I do have a little bit of confidence in the Nuggets. That being said, it's going to be a slow start. That's how it always is. Maybe the fact that the season is starting in December this year means we don't have the typical Jokic November swoon, so he's an MVP right away. I don't know. I'm feeling confident in the Nuggets showing up again this year, but I do think the Lakers are still head and shoulders above both of those teams.
Yeah, and the Nuggets, I mean, we forget, they didn't have Will Barton there in that pretty, impressive run in the playoffs, and so he's back in the mix. He should be healthy, so that's another body there. They could make a move, too. They obviously have a lot of talent that they could package together. Maybe they go and try and get a big name around the deadline if they're struggling a little bit. Okay, so you got the Nuggets, you got the Clippers. Lee, is there anyone else, or are you agreeing with these guys that you can talk yourself into to being a threat to the Lakers?
Yeah, it's really hard to make a strong case for another team in the Western Conference because the Rockets, I don't think, are going to be there. I don't think the Thunder are anywhere close. I think the Mavericks are still not quite there competing at that level just yet, especially if Porzingis is out for an extended period. We know he's going to miss the first couple of games here. So it's very, very hard to see anyone who's better than the Lakers because I think the Lakers got better than anyone else in the offseason too with the moves that they made. And now that Anthony Davis has his championship, I think he's going to have that championship swag this season where he's just going to feel so much more confident, where he doesn't need to put his stamp on the game necessarily during the regular season. He knows come playoff time, that's when he's going to have to stand up and really start dominating. So I think the Lakers do cruise a little bit, but I'm out on the Clippers right now. And until they really show me that they have gotten over those chemistry problems, I don't think the Clippers are the second team in the Western Conference right now, because a lot of this, I think, falls on Kawhi Leonard, number one, and then Paul George, number two, because Jovan Buha had a really good deep dive article on the Clippers season last week for The Athletic. It was a fantastic job there. And a lot of the problems, I think, stem from the fact that Kawhi and Paul George got such special treatment that it rubbed up so many of the guys the other way. And this season, I think the emphasis falls back on those leaders to be like, yep, okay, we got it wrong. We've got to be more of a team here and more of a team player. Mm-hmm. And by doing things, by not just taking games off whenever they feel like it. It's a shortened season. There's only 72 games. So things will probably be a little bit compact. Now, I expect, of course, Kawhi will miss some games. But last season, I think when you look back at it now, there were some warning signs there that he was just in his own world. And I think it did come back to haunt the Clippers. So I think the emphasis now falls on him to be more of a team player. And I want to see that from the start. I remember, in the Raptors, he was sitting out games really early into the season. I want to see him out there now playing all these games at the start and just showing that he's changed and he's adapting to become a better team player. Because I think if your leader is the guy who is being a bad leader by example, then how does the rest of the team fall in behind that? So that's something I'm looking for this season for the Clippers. And until they do that, I'm out on them. I'm not putting them in that same bracket as the Lakers. And for the Nuggets, I was disappointed they lost Jeremy Grant. I think they're going to miss him. I think that's a big blow. But on the counter to that, I'm really excited to see Jamal Murray this season because he was incredible down in the bubble. Mm-hmm. But remember, we talk about Nikola Jokic, who gets off to a bit of a slow start. Jamal Murray was the same last season. He really didn't get it going in that first bit of the season, and it wasn't until really down in the bubble where he really got cooking. So now I want to see him from day one, from game one, take that step up, because I think Jamal Murray, if he's not an all-star this year, I think that will be a disappointment. I think he was that good down there, and he's shown that potential. So right now I would have the Nuggets, I guess, second, but ultimately you can throw a blanket over the rest of the Western Conference teams. The Lakers are just far too good. They're healthy. They're fresh. They've got a deep bench. They're well coached. They've got all the ingredients to certainly go back-to-back as we sit here right now.
Would you bet, though, on the Lakers to have the number one seed in the Western Conference, Taz? Or Lee, or anyone? Yeah.
I mean, like saying, LeBron knows that you don't need to have it. It's not a must thing for him. And other teams like the Nuggets and again, the Clippers, they really want to sort of, I think, send that message that they're serious and they could go for it. So I'm not convinced the Lakers will get it. But even when the Lakers are going at 80%, I can't see them finishing any lower than the second best seed in the West. You agree, Tess?
Well, last year the Clippers finished 3.5 games behind the Lakers, and Paul George was coming off shoulder surgery. I think Kawhi and Paul George played 32 games together going into the bubble. Is a real low number. And the focus this year is going to be, hey, Don't screw around. Let's get this together from the get-go.
Right.
And LeBron and AD, they're sitting out preseason games at this point. Kawhi and Paul George are playing. So the Lakers are definitely the best team. But I think the Clippers have, a legitimate shot here at taking the number 1 seed for sure.
They should have that chip on their shoulder. I can't wait till we start calling them the LA Chippers. You can see it coming now. I know it's happening. Give me 2 months and we'll be calling them the LA Chippers.